Since 1984, Christopher Dean and Jane Torvill have choreographed and performed new works for professional competitions and touring ice shows throughout the world. In the last 2 years, they've also both married, Jane in 1990, and Christopher to Isabel Duchesnays, who with her skating partner and brother, Paul, asked Christopher to choreograph for them a new championship routine.
Morning. Seems like we're only doing this yesterday.
They'll be doing things I have.
Oh, this is the music. You've heard the music through.
Yes.
And what do you think? Do you like it? I hope so.
It's
You're skating to it. I want you to come out looking the same, okay? You're going to look identical because ultimately I want it to be like a mirror image of one person. One person, his mirror image, or... That's what and so it's not male or female, it's sort of an asexual look. It doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl. Yeah, well, just practice it. Do that like you would in a camel spin, and over the toe then. And then bend the leg, the attitude leg. Let the leg bend a bit. Bend it, bend, okay. Yeah, up, and then as you come out of it, let it bend. Let that back leg bend. Go for that length to begin with, that suspension. That's it, yes. That moment of off balance, that's the part that looks the most exciting, because you are off balance. So I want to try and create that feeling of excitement about it. Yeah? And as it goes skid up and off to the balance here, then I want it to sort of keep moving out of that. So as we go skid, off, let's let it go onto that inside edge. Into a back cross. Up, over it. You go, yeah, it goes long first. It bends onto it as you come onto the ice. It goes onto an inside edge. Turn, cross, and into it again. Repeat, over and around. That's it. Good. Wasn't quite what I had in mind.
Despite their achievements, Torvill and Dean are still keen to take on new challenges. When approached to discuss the changing nature of ice dance, they suggested a collaboration with the program on creating a new dance for television. Dean decided to use ice itself as a starting point. Initially, the sounds of the blades moving over the ice were recorded, and then work began to incorporate them into a soundtrack to be composed by the young British jazz musician Andy Shepherd.
Beautiful opening. I love that.
Yeah, it was free.
Yeah, it's sets the scene lovely. And is this with the next treatment, with the sort of overlay on this
I
piece
put that
as well?
pad of sound underneath everything. There's points on there where there's like claves and things playing quite an intricate rhythmical thing, and they can be substituted for skate sounds.
It's nice and melodic. Is there anything that can go contrary to that, keeping that nice sweetness, but having something that's slightly more menacing underneath it, without it not being sort of a menacing piece, but something that's in opposition to that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, probably maybe the saxophone, tenor saxophone, or I could alter that sound.
I mean, not to lose that sound, but introduce another one.
Yeah. Oh,
that,
yeah.
that gives it a slightly just turns the sweetness off a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, if I'll just get it on here.
There. Yeah.
This
Is that almost like, is it a bit more sort of gothic-y, almost sort of inside a cathedral type.
If I put it on.
Like many young skaters, in their early career, choreography simply meant, in their own words, just making up steps according to a precise set of rules. Torvill and Dean's creative use of music led them to challenge the skating convention of random tempo changes. Instead, they adopted a theme for the whole dance. This innovation they brought to the world of amateur competition was achieved under the guidance of trainer Betty Callaway.
In the 6 years that I had them, things developed, particularly as far as the choreography was concerned. When the first year I had them, it was necessary to direct them a little more. They chose the music, and I had to say, well, now the music says a spin, or now I want a series of steps, and I want some difficulty. Now I would like some audience appeal. Then came Mac and Mabel, and that was the biggest turning point, I would say, in the amateur world, where you had a complete story, a complete picture, and more artistry, and perhaps a little more theatre in it.
The first freelance that we did that became well known was the Mac and Mabel routine, which was in 1982, which was the second time we won the European and World Championships. Even though we won it the year before, most people wouldn't remember what we skated to. And 82 was the time when it really came out.
The crowd here are extremely proud of the fact that they will be going on to the top of the rostrum as world champions for the second year in a row.
We always were taught to work our own moves out. We were never given the moves by our trainer and said, this is what you're going to do. We were just gently guided. And Chris, even then, way back, I think I probably had more ideas than he did initially, which is unbelievable now. But I probably said, oh, let's try this, or I like this music, let's use this music. And I think our trainer, I think Betty Callaway, was the one that saw something in Chris that wasn't out.
Particularly, Chris had very good ideas, and he developed them as the years went by. Jane, of course, was a good technician. He used to have sort of go into worlds of fantasy occasionally, but she was able to make the things work.
Even though we always talk about competition and how restrictive it was, if we hadn't have gone up through that and had that discipline, we wouldn't have won a medal at the Olympics, and we wouldn't have had the opportunities that have been open to us since that time.
We didn't realize what that piece has done for us, and it's an identifiable piece that people will always link with us as skaters and as performers. And what it enabled us to do, to go on from there, to be where we are now, because without that popularity, without that media attention, we wouldn't have been able to mount our own shows, to tour around the world. People wouldn't come to see us. realize the impact that it has on people, and people will always want to go and see it. You know, it's like going to your favorite concert of your pop artists and want to hear the old familiar songs as well as the new ones, but you identify with it. And it's taken us several years to come to terms with that, because, you know, we're not Bolero again. And people say, what does Bolero mean to you? It's half time. You know, it's halfway through the show, that's the end of the first half. But obviously it means more to us than that. And it's something very special, it will always be special to us now.
Doesn't diminish. Yes, it happened. 9-6.
When we left the amateur world into the professional world, suddenly we weren't putting together a 4-minute routine for 9 judges in a sports competition in white light. That we're actually presenting our idea of a piece of music, and in a manner that we could have total control over the look, from its lighting to its costuming, and without any rules or regulations. That suddenly we had the freedom of not saying, well, these are the elements like this, and now you make something up to that. Suddenly they were gone, and suddenly it was, we're in a void, and what do we do in the void? In actual fact, the void is this wonderful freedom of playing with everything. It's like being in space, it's like floating free, and the ideas that you want to put through are your limitation of your own imagination.